Short-term thinking often hinders small businesses and new entrepreneurs, limiting their potential for long-term growth. But how can they break free from this cycle? Well, the answer apparently lies in strategic foresight, a powerful tool to envision and prepare for the future. Joining us now is Roxi Nicolussi, the founder of The Big Bold Company. It's wonderful to have you with me in studio. How does short-term thinking hinder businesses so much? Take us through a little bit about what you're exploring.
You and I are going on a hike.
Okay.
It's 20 kilometers. Are you excited?
I am.
The catch is I only have a map for the first kilometer. Are you still as excited?
Not if I'm carrying a lot of stuff and we don't know where we're going.
Yeah, a lot of businesses only plan about 1 year into the future. In fact, I did research with small businesses in the province that I'm from, and 60% of them only plan 1 year into the future. If you start a business with big long-term goals like existing for 20 years, that's not really sustainable. They have a small business mindset, which means that they are focused more so on surviving and not so much on thriving. They're missing opportunities, they are not having a competitive advantage, and likely not staying relevant if they're staying within that mindset.
That's very well said, and I appreciate, as a visual learner, I appreciate the hiking reference as well. So let's talk exactly what strategic foresight is for those out there who may not be aware of what it is.
Most aren't. You hear the name and you might think that I'm a fortune teller.
Yes.
I'm not, and I do agree that the future is uncertain. I think that's something that people might think. Strategic foresight practitioners or futurists believe that we know what's in the future. We don't, but we have tools to reduce uncertainty. Okay. So strategic foresight gives us tools to understand and imagine potential futures so that we can plan for them. We use the word futures instead of the future because we acknowledge that it's unknown and there are many different options. The most likely future is not always the most desirable one. And so when we assume that there's 5 different potentials, we can see that there's a path that we can take towards a desirable one.
Yeah, this is very interesting, and I speak to a lot of businesses who want that sugar rush, that survival moment. They just want to, again, as you said, survive in the short term. But how can small businesses start applying this practice or considering it more deeply?
The first thing is trend scanning. Looking at what is something that's developing today, maybe just a little whisper somewhere around the world that could develop into a threat or an opportunity in the future. So an example might be Melbourne Taxi Company. They may not have heard or thought of a little startup in San Francisco threatening their business model. Something I was thinking of this morning is Dyson. They were known for vacuums as far as I was aware, and they thought, maybe a threat might come, such as a robotic vacuum. How can we stay relevant when we have this technology that uses hot air? And so they created
their entire series of incredible devices, each one better than the last. So it's very interesting, and I think, again, as small businesses are surviving and keeping their heads down, they don't actually have time to do that thinking, or they think that they don't have time to do that thinking. But what's the key, based on what you've seen, to maintaining a strategic foresight practice? Take us through.
Starting with trend scanning and making that a part of the day-to-day work. So the last organization I consulted for, I spoke about their need for strategic foresight, and at the end I had a QR code that put something in their calendars to remind them to trend scan.
Nice.
And then I was able to send them an invitation to what that session might look like to facilitate the conversation about the trends that have been found. So just really starting to discuss the future is the first step in thinking more about it. And it becomes fun because you get to see something such as cricket powder gaining popularity. I did a study in 2016 about alternative proteins, and now I see cricket powder on the shelves. And that was something that I suggested a grocer invest in. So it becomes a fun part of the practice, and I think if you can make it fun and put it into the way that a business operates, you can not only have better decision-making practices and be more prepared for the future, but you can have fun doing it.
Which is really important for a lot of workplaces out there. I think there are some employees who just want to have fun and want to be engaged with these things, and of course watch things thrive and change. So can you share a success story of strategic foresight that's led to action? You did touch on the cricket powder thing there, which actually I have also seen, now that you say it, in protein, etc. But is there anything else you wanted to highlight?
A lot of the biggest companies and most successful companies do have strategic foresight practices, like Google and Apple, Disney even, yes. But actually, I think I'm going to share an example of one that didn't.
Okay, please.
A company that doesn't practice strategic foresight will, I'm trying to say it nicely, will die.
Yeah.
So an example of one that doesn't practice strategic foresight would be Blockbuster.
Oh,
They were, I know,
bless.
they were at the forefront of renting of different media.
Yeah.
And they didn't adapt with the times. Netflix, however, adapted with the times. They started off a rental of discs.
Letters, you'd get it in the mail, I remember.
Yes. And they realized that there was a better way to do it, and so they were able to adapt, and Netflix thrived and Blockbuster did not.
And here we are. And of
Yes.
course, history is written by the victors, for what I'm seeing in the business world here. Roxi, if people want to find out a bit more about the Big Bold Company, a bit about what you do, where's the best place to go? It sounds like you've got your finger on the pulse, which is really wonderful to see. Who would you be looking to work with, and who do you want to reach out to you?
I love working with small businesses. I also work with individuals with strategic planning for their own lives. So I love working with people who have said, I've always wanted to do that thing, but never made the action. I think strategy can be applied outside of businesses. Yeah.
That's good.
Thebigbold.co is my website, and on there I also have an ebook for small businesses to learn about backcasting, which is a tool that I created, a framework for small businesses to use.
Nice. Goodness me, you have been busy, but I appreciate you taking the time out to have a chat to me today, and of course run us through a little bit of history and a little bit of forecast trending.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.